Welcome to South Harmon. Welcome to South Harmon. Hey, welcome to South Harmon. We glad you here today. Another AMA. Ask me anything. Super chat is cool if you wanna pay to play. Like and subscribe, that's what we really appreciate. Let me introduce you to the tear down king. Mike McNutted, ask your questions, he'll answer anything. ATM, you know Adam put them graphics on the screen. Glad you tapped in now, stay tapped in for the team. Hey, everything is posted. Go follow the socials. South Harmon FF tag us if we get noticed. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today. Another AMA. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today.
We are back. Let's go. Wednesday night AMA, joined by one of our favorites, Thomas Tipple from Fantasy Points. What's up, Thomas, man? He's rocking to that intro music. He's bumping.
Baby, we're vibing. We're just getting started. Like, if we think that's a little vibe and a head nod now, ooh, baby, we don't even know what we're gonna cook up yet, but it's gonna be saucy.
Saucy. I love the radio voice too.
Saucy.
I love it. Could you do the greatest hits of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s for us, Thomas? I love it. What's up, Adam? How's New York treating you today?
Man? I'm doing well. We're ready to rock, man. Anytime we get Thomas back on, man, we had a blast with Thomas on here last time, and I've been looking forward to this for a while. I was afraid, Mike, with my flight today that I wasn't going to be able to do it, and I was telling Mike before here, I'm like, man, you guys are going to have a blast without me. I'm going to be MIA.
Oh, no.
Luckily, I'm here. We're ready to go, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Enjoying my last week before I got to go back to, working a real job. It's kind of nice, though. Oof. I kind of like being in between jobs, leaving an old one, starting a new one.
Absolutely.
Having all this free time.
You're good, right?
It's been weird for us, too, because we got all our big content, pre-recorded stuff out of the way early in the week. I knocked out a solo vid today. Going to run down to the courthouse tomorrow, It's weird. It's a weird feeling, like having all this time. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what to do with my hands.
I'm excited, man. So the Mike Solo video, I know what it's about too. Like knowing that what it's about, but not getting to have it dropped yet. I got to keep it quiet. But
it was good, man. I had to hop in the Discord this morning and hopped in voice chat and just started, building a spreadsheet, which is dangerous. For those of you who know me.
You want to talk about Mike on a late night? I mean, those spreadsheet nights.
I'm a freak in the sheets, man.
About what their husbands do, right? Like late at night, and they don't know, like they're not in the same room. They're like suspicious. Nah, we're just building spreadsheets, yo. Like we're just tapping into numbers and spreadsheets. We're really unexciting, like in terms of fantasy. This is what we do.
Hey, Thomas,
spreadsheets,
I just learned today how to take something from one tab of a Google sheet and copy it to the other one. And just do it as just values, so I don't get the hashtag reference, your formula's all fucked up thing. It eluded me for years, but we figured it out today. We're good to go. Thanks, Koopa.
You really have had a lot of time on your hands. Like, that's...
Yeah.
It shows. In the best of ways.
If only I was doing something productive, like working out or eating healthy or, getting my business degree or something. I don't know. Fuck that.
Tomatoes
why
tomorrow.
do that when we can talk about fantasy football in the spreadsheets, man?
That's what's up.
Why do that when I can decipher what goes into making not the elite quarterbacks, but the next group? That's what people want to know.
The 1Bs.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the 1Bs, Adam, we got rookies. Rookies on the thumbnail. Tonight's show topic. Are these rookies going to come in and do fuck all in 2024, or are they going to, as you said on the thumbnail, it's our time now? Like how I hit Andrew. I think that's how Andrew responds to me like last week. Like, you had your time, you old geezer. It's fucking my time now. It's Brucey's
time
he definitely,
to shine, baby.
Listen, I give him shit for being young, but he's more like Brucey than he is a kid, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Why can't I play quarterback? That's why. Sit down. Shut up.
Go throw it. That's why. Sit down and shut up.
Say he's what, like a 35-year-old convict on our prison system football team? Who are you employing? Goddamn.
Yeah, he loves the cheerleaders too, man.
Oh, hey. Saucy. Hey, man.
No, Adam, let me ask you though. With these rookie quarterbacks and their skill sets and kind of overanalyzed how we have everything nowadays, do you think these rookies have a chance of making an impact in 24? And if so, which ones?
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely do. I think that the thing that's one, it's going to be probably hard to pinpoint. They all have enough draft capital. I'm not as high on Bo Nix, frankly, but he's going to be in a situation where they're probably going to be trailing. And he's going to be throwing the ball in the Sean Payton offense where, like, realistically, I mean, that's his bread and butter, checking the ball down if you saw what he did at Oregon. So, like, I think they all probably could end up surprising us as far as production. But I do think, Mike, it'll be interesting to see what that production means as far as fantasy. Like, how many of them are really in that quarterback 2, quarterback 3 range versus do we have any of these guys that crack the top 12? Because if we have, 2 guys that get in that top 15, top 12 range, I think that would be that'd be epic as far as what people start to view this class as if you have that type of a production profile for 2 of these guys at least in the rookie season. But what do you think, man?
It'll be interesting. Let me get Thomas's point of view here. So, Thomas, on Friday we got a show coming out looking at rookie hit rates historically. DB made one based on WARP, not points per game or overall finish, based on WARP of Vanilla League. So we keep everything copacetic, right? And I really want to transition everything I do. Like, I've been really trying to push this to people. Points per game is fucking dead. All right, throw that shit out the window. WARP of your specific league is the only thing that matters anymore because it's relative to everybody else. So I got to ask you, I'm going to preface this for you, Thomas.
Okay.
One of the interesting facts that I found when we were doing this show on rookie hit rates is so far since 2007, rookie quarterbacks drafted in the first round have a 33% chance, they have hit at a 33% clip to be a top 6 quarterback in WARP within their first 3 years. Meaning if we got 6 quarterbacks in this class, 2 of these sons of bitches are hitting. 2 of these sons of bitches within the next 3 years are going to be top 6. Not just top 12. Top 6, like, fuck me CJ Stroud level of, like, excitement around them because they're doing it early. If I had to ask you, is there anybody outside of Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels that you would like to, say we had betting odds? Which one would you throw the money on outside of the favorites, I guess?
I would put McCarthy in there. I would
put
McCarthy
yeah, my
in there.
man.
I drank the fantasypoints.com Kool-Aid on JJ McCarthy. It came down to this, like Jacob Sanderson and I, co-host at Dynasty Points, we got into it the entire draft process between May and McCarthy, and my determining factor was who just didn't land in New England year 1. So my edge immediately the edge went to JJ, and I get May is raw, and yeah, he can, the argument is he's big, fast, and athletic. He can run 8 in. I don't know if the Patriots will score 8 on the year. So you get JJ in a quarterback-safe offense with everything they have there. If a quarterback, Nick Mullins was going to town on every defense towards the end of the year and just posting insane numbers. Granted, I think Jordan Addison is a fake value wide receiver. I think he's okay. I think he's fine. He's kind of Dotson-esque. But, you have the best receiver in the game, a tight end that's going to be dope when he comes back, and one of the better running teams in the league. He's set up. If he fails, I'm going to look like an absolute donkey. But if I have to put my hat in the ring, it'd be for him. And then you hit on Bo Nix, and I'm not a big Bo Nix guy, but I'm a big Sean Payton guy. We all agree Russell Wilson was cooked, like overcooked. Aunt Mary had a few too many at Thanksgiving, overcooked turkey. Like, that's Russell Wilson, especially with those burnt ass legs. Like, he couldn't move. But the dude, I know you're not the big points per game guy. When you put this into perspective, every single quarterback really that Sean Payton puts out hits like a 14 to 18 point per game range. If you're going to give me Bo Nix at that in the second round of rookie drafts, I'm just taking it. Now, can he get to that top 6 quarterback range? I don't know. I really don't. But I bet you he can net you a return of top 6 quarterback range at some point, like a Brock Purdy has been able to do. I know you're not a big Purdy guy, but you can't deny when that dude popped off this year, you got top 6 return for him in a lot of cases. If you wanted to get out,
Yep.
Nix has that track, that path ahead of him. He can do it. And then if you keep in mind that it is almost impossible for a first-round rookie quarterback to lose value so long as they just hit the field, whether they play terribly or not, we're pretty much set with all of these guys for at least year 1. So top 6 return, I'm going to say JJ, and I'll actually say Bo Nix early.
God damn it, Thomas, you're ruining my solo video. All right,
Sorry.
I put both those guys in there, not necessarily for the elite tier. Yeah, you could.
Speaking of being overcooked, Thomas just cooked that whole thing. That whole spiel was epic, man.
Not necessarily those guys for the elite tier, right? Like, but top 6. I mean, there was a lot of guys when I was putting together that spreadsheet that, ended up being top 6 kind of guys, right? They would have been top 6 warp hit rates. They were just in that, they couldn't be Josh Allen or they couldn't be Jalen Hurts, right? But they were the next guys up. And when I looked at it, Thomas, it all comes down to rushing. And Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy both are athletic enough to run for 400 yards plus. And I think the one thing we always kind of throw at Bo Nix's situation is fucking terrible, other than Sean Payton. Like, other than that, who's he throwing the ball to? The offense isn't that great. Like, we're not that inspired about it. Kind of feels like a lot like Daniel Jones back in the day, though, don't it? Mm-hmm. Where Danny Dimes just had to take off and run, and you're like, this motherfucker can move sometimes. Now, occasionally blades of grass get in his way, and he falls over. Like, that happens. But Dimes sneakily put up an 800-yard rushing season. Sneakily. Yeah. I'm not saying Bo Nix could do it, but Jesus Christ, Bo Nix runs for 500 yards this year. I would not be shocked at all. And if he does run for 500 yards, his passing doesn't even have to be that great. It doesn't. He can be a QB1 type without having to throw the football for like this prolific rate. It was actually really interesting to look at that next group on that solo video I laid out. But the guys who can run, the guys who can run even close to that 700, 800 yard mark, like your floor for passing is 3,000 yards. Like, that's the average of the guys who hit that next tier of quarterbacks. So JJ's a good one. I think we all think he's pretty goddamn athletic. Reports of he probably would have ran a 4.5 or something like that. You kind of get the Justin Herbert. Yeah, you get the Justin Herbert comparisons, but I think he's way more athletic than Herbert is. Like, I think we just lump him into like lanky white dudes. Like, that's the category we throw him in. And I think he's actually way more athletic than that. He looks it.
It's important to note too, if we're gonna helmet scout and go Sean Payton, Broncos, and a super overcooked Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson ran for 450, 500, 850, and 550, and that's when he was hitting QB 8, 3, 3, 9, 1. It's all money to his rushing, and that's all you have to hit. So if you're and I say, oh, that's all you have to do is be athletic enough and be out of options enough to take off. Now, I don't know if that's in Nix's game on tape as much because I'm not a hashtag film grinder. I let way smarter people than me do that stuff. Like, we have Brett Whitefield and Scott Barrett and some really, really smart people on staff. So I just ask them. So in Nix's game, I don't know if that's quite there, but I still think Russ hit 340 rushing yards this year with 3 touchdowns. He was still a top 15, 16 quarterback in 4 passing touchdown leagues. Cash money as a rookie that he'll skyrocket for where you're getting him. It's McCarthy, though, that I know the rushing showed up on film. Because towards the end of the year, they started running more of the read option offense. He started taking off. He started doing it himself. And it really showed up. So I really believe his 500 rushing yards is really his mid-tier. Not his floor, not his ceiling. But I think that's kind of his mid-tier. And he may have to, because that offensive line is dog water. It's
Dookie.
Bad. It's horrendous.
Dookie.
With you. Yeah, I think what's interesting, Bo Nix, so we don't have, most of these guys, we don't have the athletic measurables, right? Because they didn't do anything at the combine as far as running. But it was reported for Bo Nix that he ran a 4.71 in high school, which give or take what that could actually be. But Daniel Jones at the combine, for the record, 4.81. So I think it's in the range of outcomes that he actually has at least the floor of Daniel Jones if he does look to take off and run. To the point you made, I think, with Denver, I mean, they kind of get Troy Franklin because he has that free fall in the draft. But we don't – Cortland Sutton is, a contested catch guy getting older. The offensive weapons as a whole there probably aren't going to have Bo Nix throwing to, wide open guys all the time. So, some scrambling ability I think is definitely in the cards for him. I'm kind of curious. I think the big thing is going to be, though, do people give – for example, like most rookies, it takes time for them to actually progress and score points in the fantasy realm. And right now, I feel like what's interesting about this, the reason I made it a thumbnail, you're basically looking at, 6 different guys, 5 of which are likely to see the field. Penix, I don't think, is likely in year 1 to see the field, right?
God, no.
So with that said, like if, for example, let's say 2 of the guys in this class are giving you points per game that are meaningful, but 3 of them are not, is the impatience of today's Dynasty gamer going to basically say that a lot of these guys are bust way too early in their career is, I guess, ultimately the thing, because it's unlikely all of them are smashing straight up in points per game. So I just know that the Dynasty community right now is so damn fickle and wants to see production right away, and it's just unlikely that a lot of these rookies are going to produce at a high level early on. It's just going to take some time. So that I think is the main thing for me, is how is the community going to react to guys that are, scoring enough points in the rookie range, realistically, if we're giving them fair criticism for what their archetype could be based on rookie production.
So
We are impatient.
I don't think they're going to be, and I'll tell you why. The quarterback class for 2025, dog water. As of
Hot
now,
dog water,
there's always
yeah,
some
fair.
guy that breaks out. It's hot caca. It is awful. It is guano. So, and then if you look at 2022, we're talking about impatient and how long somebody can stay somewhere. In 2022, this time, April 20th to May 20th, in 2022, Trey Lance was still being drafted at 2.8, and he hadn't done jack squat. If the community loves somebody enough, gonna stick past it. Like, they're gonna stick by him. All they have to do is see the field for a quarter of football. Zach Wilson held round 3 to 4 value 2 years into his career, knowing we knew he was awful, and people still did it. Like, we at this point, I think we jump off early on tight ends. I think we jump off early on some wide receivers, and definitely early on some running backs. Quarterbacks, even when they are awful, if the community just has to like them. Justin Fields was picked 1-9 in startups this time last year, and we knew what he was, and people still did it. Trevor Lawrence has finally fallen to the 3rd round after being Mitty Mitterson his entire career, and
At best.
it took now to get there, and he was a round 1 pick. I mean, for no reason, Justin Herbert's in the 2nd round right now, according to the Dynasty Data Lab. Like, that makes no sense to me. But I think we've actually gotten more patient, because Anthony Richardson played 2 games, really, and then died for the year with shoulder problems. That's bad.
Sure.
And he's still holding tight at 111 in startup for between April 20th and May 20th. I think we've gotten more patient, to a fault almost.
Well,
with
I
some
think
quarterbacks.
I think what you hit on, and you just at the end there, with some quarterbacks, I think the reality is that the community is going to show their true colors on how they feel about, for example, right? Justin Fields, I think most of the community, at least early on in the process, kind of liked his profile. Then it became, he's not that good, once it was more clear. But Trey Lance, people were the situation's so great. I mean, first of all, we see what's going on with Purdy, but people were so sure about Trey Lance. Now, that's different because he didn't actually see the field. But, like, does the community actually like Bo Nix? Does the community actually like him? And then J.J. McCarthy, for example, I think the interesting part with him, you hit on this touch of the show. I think it's really good. McCarthy set up so well to at least check mid-range, like, quarterback 2 numbers, right? Because the weapons are just so good. If he doesn't produce with those weapons, how much does he retain value? I think overall, to the point you're making, most of the quarterbacks, in particular, Jaden Daniels, Trey Lance, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May, I think the community probably feels a little better about their prospect profile and will give them more time, to exactly what you're saying. What I'm more curious to see is how the community reacts to guys that maybe they don't think as high of in Bo Nix or as J.J. McCarthy if he doesn't do that well with the situation that's really great around him.
It's actually funny you mentioned Trey Lance and him not producing. In starts that Werner Tsunami and his ankle exploded, he had 18 points per game. Like the idea that in his small sample size, like he was awful, he really wasn't.
No,
but then,
he didn't even have a
then
sample size, right?
Yeah, but that was enough to hold him from rounds 2 to 4 for like 3 years.
Well,
so
given basically we never saw what his value was while he was playing because it was he wasn't playing, then he got hurt right away. We didn't even really get to see if he was a good quarterback or not. To your point, he played in a tsunami and then he got hurt in the next game running very early. So imagine being him too. Imagine being him and you never even got to really have a chance to play. You had that type of draft capital investment and now you're just not playing football. But go ahead.
Fun fact, 2022, Zach Wilson was still being drafted in the 5th round. So like
By me, my bad.
How bad do you that was all Mike. But how bad do you really have to be? How bad do you got to be? Right.
I think
Wilson was going QB 9, like ahead of Jalen Hurts. I don't think that we did a show last night, and Mike, you said you were hanging out, and the whole point was like we keep hearing that the market's getting smarter. I don't think it is. So I think we're going in reverse almost, just a little bit. Like Travis Etienne being a 3rd round startup pick makes me want to vomit uncontrollably. But
me too.
Especially in terms of these quarterbacks, like I think we almost give them too much leeway, and a lot of it is based on draft capital. Like that draft capital boys love themselves some like flag planting on these guys. I didn't mention Daniels because you asked who had like top 6. To me, I just thought he was obvious. Like to me, he's just like
for sure. Yeah.
If he can stop diving head first into defensive tackles when he runs the ball, he's gonna be great. But he runs into defenders like his family is going to get excommunicated if he doesn't dive head first into them. And it's not going to be a good time. So he has to stop that. But, yeah, I think he's pretty much a lock. If someone's going to hit 900 yards, it's obviously Daniels.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's no question on that. The last thing I'll say, what's interesting about it, like I talk about with where people view them, like we've never seen, at least since I've been playing that I can remember, you know what? Maybe Herbert is the only exception where we got a guy that has this type of draft capital, like Bo Nix, going in the 8th round in startups. Like that's just interesting that people still. I know the situation is not great. We've already talked about that, but imagine getting a top 12 quarterback, whether you love him or hate him or don't. Like it doesn't 8th round. That's insane. That is insane to me. Do you think that a quarterback with that type of draft capital is not going at least in like the round 6 range? That's pretty crazy.
And if anyone tells me they don't think a quarterback being drafted low in startups can just jump with a single glimmer of hope, Jared Goff in 2022, QB 31, boys. QB 32 that year, Matt Corral.
Wolf.
So when you put it into perspective, right, it just takes that little bit. It just takes that little bit, and that's why they are so valuable.
I have this magic number with rookie quarterbacks, and I think it's 3 years. You get a 3-year buffer. You just do.
Okay.
Fields, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett. Like you get heading into your 3rd year. Trey Lance, for example, that's your make or break it, right? Like heading into the 3rd year defines whether or not, and then what you do in your 3rd year, right? If you're not playing or you've been relegated to backup role, we're done with you. Like, fuck you. Yep. Okay. We've seen you. But your 1st and 2nd year are like free passes. Okay? It's just a free pass. You're a rookie quarterback. We understand sometimes this is going to take time. But you get a free pass. So even if Bo Nix comes out and he's fucking dog shit this year, terrible.
Yeah.
He's going to have a pass next year. He's going to end up going in the 7th, 8th, 9th round again next year. Just because you look at it and you go, well, need a quarterback 3. Well, fuck it. Bo Nix. Right? Like, why not? He's got a job. He's starting. Maybe his 2nd year is going to be better. Thomas, you and I made a Bryce Young trade. Bryce Young was fucking god-awful last year.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I got a shit ton of Bryce Young. You're looking at it the same way. Like, listen, I didn't pay too much for him. If he does anything this year and rebounds, fucking sign me up. Like, we got him. And if he takes off and he's dog shit again in the first 6 games, Thomas, you're probably like, all right, let me get this fucking dude off my team before he goes to 0. So you get like a 3-year buffer. Your first and second year are almost free passes, almost just guaranteed as a quarterback if you have first round NFL draft capital. Doesn't apply to guys with like, if Will Levis comes out with second round NFL draft capital and he's fucking awful again this year, terrible again with everything that they've done for him, we don't care.
Well, the Titans fake helped him. All right, they added like 37-year-old Calvin Ridley. They added like one of the least efficient running backs in the league. They have 47-year-old knees DeAndre Hopkins who can now run like 3 routes, and they still don't have a tight end. So they helped him. But can we admit that they kind of fake helped him? I feel like the Titans did that thing where they're like, see, we tried to help him, and he still sucked. It wasn't our fault. And they get out of him.
Yeah, they dipped their toe in the water. They didn't go all in. I'm 100% with you on that for sure.
They fake helped him. At least the Panthers got D-Joe. So, like, us nerds on Twitter can be excited. And they're not running out 34-year-old Adam Thielen as wide receiver 1. The other wide receivers, like Leggett, probably is bad, but he's at least fun. But, like, like the Titans faked help Levis. So I'm probably just drinking the mayo, if you would, because I have like a 40% rostership across 50 leagues of Will Levis. But
I love it.
That's hopium for me. But they did kind of fake help him.
Adam, I had to pull it up because you brought up the point about the Justin Herbert thing. Like it feels like since Justin Herbert, we haven't seen a quarterback with first round draft capital get drafted so late. I went back. If Kevin Bachledge gets in the chat or comes in, he'll like it. The startup in a league that we're in together was in 2020, so right after the NFL draft, we did this startup. I took Justin Herbert at the 904, man.
Yeah.
The 904 to your point. Like what? Joe Burrow was the number 1 overall fucking pick. He went the 5th round. Again, another guy I took just to toot my own fucking horn about, being good at this.
Bo Nix going 9-11. Penix Jr. going 9-7, 9-8 right now. It's the same scenario. And the dunking on the Penix pick is like one thing because like reactionary, it's a meme and whatever.
Sure.
And everyone's like, oh, he's gonna slip to the late second. And then I get into 20, 25 rookie drafts and people are like, oh, 2-3, 2-4, 2-6. Liars. You're all liars because you're still taking them. All right, like let's. Liars.
You're all bullshit.
I had so many 2-6s, and I'm like, I'm gonna get a free first round quarterback to sit on my taxi squad. All liars, and I'm sitting there stuck drafting some terrible receiver that'll probably never see the field.
I'm
well,
sorry.
Speaking of that one, the Michael Penix thing, 2020. I just brought up that draft. Jordan Love went in the 11th round.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
1103.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy what we do to these quarterbacks that just get tagged as bad immediately, especially if there's any uncertainty. Like you want ambiguous situations when they're cheap and it pays off. Like, oh, I love it. Love getting those guys. They're my favorite.
Take it. Is there anything like that feels more safe though than like a rookie quarterback with first round draft capital? For me, there's not. There's not a lot.
No, but I'll say this. I think it's safe in that, like you said, you're good for like a little while. But I don't think there's safety in the quarterback position like people think there is. This is something I've been talking about for a while. Justin Herbert was the 103 just a couple years ago. Motherfucker did nothing but ball out, hurt his finger, and still ball out. And now he's the second round pick. Joe Burrow's dropped out. Lamar Jackson, you could get at like the top of the second round for a bit last year, and it was glorious. Kyler Murray is finally back in the second round, but like, come on. These guys, like Stroud, if he doesn't come out and be Stroud again last year, he's going to lose a few spots. Caleb's going to move up. Richardson's going to move up. If you're not Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts, there's almost no safety in the quarterback position. Anyone could fall. Lamar Jackson stubs his toe the wrong way. He's not keeping his QB5 valuation. He's just not, because that's how the community is. There's someone fresher and hotter. So the idea that you're safe at any point with a quarterback, to me, is kind of a farce. But overall, you do feel pretty safe with a rookie quarterback in terms of if they are bad, you still have a chance to either buy in or get out.
I get behind that one quite a bit. I was looking at this one, Adam, too, just like some of the quarterbacks to Thomas' point, right? Mahomes and Lamar were the first 2 guys off the board. Kyler at 3, you're okay. You're still fine. Deshaun Watson was the next guy.
This the 2020 season, right?
2020, yep. Deshaun Watson was the next guy. Now, you can't predict, the allegations. You can't predict that was going to go down and not playing for multiple years. But then Dak Prescott, you were fine there. Russ in the 3rd round was the next quarterback off the board. Russell Wilson. Here we are with the Broncos, like, here, we'll give you millions and millions of dollars just to get the fuck away from us.
And
please.
still in 2022, 2nd round pick. It's crazy.
Josh Allen, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's retired. He's gone. Carson Wentz. Nice backup role right there. Carson Wentz now. Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Aaron Rodgers, and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, insane.
Those are the quarterbacks I guarantee everybody thought they were drafting, to Thomas's point, 4 years ago, that were like, oh, it's a dynasty. I'm going to have these dudes for the next 5, 6, 7 years. Easily. Yeah. They're safe. Some of them are. About half of them, on the other hand, though, you just lit that fucking thing on fire. Woo! Right. Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's, wild.
It's a little volatile.
Yep. I think for me, the receiver position is not safe per se, but a lot of the receivers that you draft in this rookie range, right? You're looking at where they're going in like startups. I mean, Pearsall, Leggett in particular coming to mind. Like obviously Pearsall, we don't know what's going to happen for Frisco. Xavier Leggett in the 9-11 range, like, and up from there. These guys are definitely going to have volatility if they don't produce. You saw like what happens with Quentin Johnson, but he comes to mind for me as, okay, like, would we say that's probably the worst thing, or like the worst type of rookie season that you can have, where you don't play a lot, then you finally have forced opportunity that you don't do much with, right? That would probably be one of the worst rookie seasons we could say for a wide receiver like him. I mean, he's still, after that, is in a 13th round of startups. Now, obviously, that's quite a bit of a drop, but, I mean, he's still going ahead of Jermaine Burton and, like, receivers that maybe you have hope for. I mean, it's amazing that – basically, my point is that even if you see this ship going down and kind of lighting on fire, you can trade out of it. And a lot of times, the receivers are very more easily moved, even when things are not going great. You have 1 or 2 weeks where – they have a pop week, and there's a big sell window because people get really, really excited for these young receivers.
Considering that Jerry Jeudy was still being drafted in the 5th round last year, beside Michael Pittman Jr., DJ Moore, and Deebo Samuel, I would say that we hang on to those guys like, like it's a bag of gold at the end of a rainbow. It's brutal. To a fault, 100% to a fault. That's one spot where I think we're getting a little wiser. Like JSN isn't sitting there at wide receiver 12 now. He's actually down the board.
Wide receiver 30 in startups right now.
Quentin Johnston way down the board as he belongs. J-Mo way down the board. Like, we're getting a little smarter in terms of identifying receivers. That might be the one thing the community's actually getting significantly smarter on, in my opinion.
I think that it'll be interesting to see and kind of track the movement of it because, like, for example, a guy like Jaden Reed, I'm trying to find where he actually is right now in startups. So Jaden Reed is still going in the 6th round here. And it's like, him, Zay Flowers, to your point, you made a very good talk about Jordan Addison. And, like, is the touchdown, like, is 10 touchdowns sustainable? Basically, you don't have to necessarily hold these rookies at receiver for forever. And if you see them get into that range where it's unlikely for them to keep producing at a rate to stay in this range, you can flip out of them a lot of times very easily in Dynasty. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think that the receiver is not necessarily safe if you were to keep them over the course of their entire career. But they a lot of times are very easily moved if you move them at the right time, especially when people are really valuing. They get crazy about rookie production, even if it's not that meaningful for your team throughout the course of the year.
Like, it's pretty easy to – oh, go ahead.
What happens if the market wisens up, though?
They don't wide receiver.
What if they do, though? What if they get a little bit sharper? I understand. I listen to the pod, right? Like you and D, bro. Like, yes, we talk about the community getting sharper as a whole. right? And when I say community, I mean the Dynasty community. I'm not talking about you guys who are tapped in. You guys are getting sharper. Other than the fucking Jalen Hurts is falling out of the top 8 comment or whatever the fuck that just came across that I had to read. That was terrible. Other than that one, like, you guys are getting sharper. But as a whole, the Dynasty community feels dumb as ever. Like, it feels more locked into player takes. It feels more locked into hopium, copium, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It feels like they're more in that line. But I'm just asking the question, if they do wisen up. If all this work that I'm trying to put in to show that rookie hit rates, right, drafting wide receivers with first-round draft capital isn't as fucking safe as you think, as far as actually producing for your fantasy teams. If things like warp and warp advantages and where fantasy points actually come from and where wins come from for your fantasy team, if they sharpen up a little bit over the next couple of years, could you have a situation where people are more out on guys like JSN, the Jerry Judys of the world? Like, fuck, man, you can't even hit top 50? In your rookie year? Like, fuck you. All right, back of the bus. Get the fuck out of here. We're done with you. We're moving on. Or do you think there's always going to be those people pushing those player narratives? This is Michael Wilson's breakout year. This is fucking when Marvin Mims, who done fuck all, is going to be the guy. Jameson Williams, you guys just wait. Listen to what the fuck they said in training camp about him. He's going to be a big part of their offense. He's going to be a big part of their fucking special teams unit, down there, down in punts.
I think, to your question, like, what happens if they do? I still don't think they ever will, because you're right. People want to be first more than they're okay being right. They'll plant the flag on a guy and be like, nope, this is it. Everyone else is wrong. This is the dude. This is what's going to happen. And I think that's always going to exist. And not just, it's bad with people who are plugged in. Like, I have a big thing with, like, Devi communities and how they just, like, lock in on a take because they've creepishly been watching them since high school.
Zach Evans.
And they can't let go. But I think, oh, damn.
Scared him. You scared Thomas out of
I was not ready for that at all. There was no warning there. And now you muted yourself in the process, so.
You got him. Double dip, still muted. Doesn't even give a fuck.
100%. Which button is it?
He's gonna find it.
You
think I'm the one?
There you go.
My bad.
There you go.
I'm just I'm letting y'all talk. My bad. I should have unmuted though. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, I think that's always going to exist, and that's always going to create the balance in the market. It's the same thing. I get accused of being a 0 RB bro, and that's fine. And then I'm always like, no one drafts RBs that early. No, we know that's a terrible strategy. Oh, Etienne and Kyron Williams and Saquon Barkley are still 3rd and 4th round picks. And like, I think that's always going to happen. That's always going to be there. You're always going to have conflicting opinions. So they might get smarter, but in terms of the micro of it, every league is still going to have these guys getting pushed up like crazy. So I'm not generally concerned about it.
I think the way I would look at it is, if the community's getting smarter, or we say that they're going to wisen up, let's say, to what you were saying, Mike, right? Because I definitely think that, whether right or wrong, I think the community tries to. Now, they may drink the Kool-Aid on the wrong shit, but point is they're consuming more information and trying to have takes and do things. Like, right now, what's happened, in order for, I guess, the receivers to get pushed down the board, something else has to get pushed up. And if we talk about how running backs realistically shouldn't be going in this range, right? And tight ends, we talk about in most leagues, don't matter. And so I guess the question really becomes to the point of, that's why I'm talking about the thumbnail. Like, that, it's kind of full circle, brings the entire thing to context, Mike, because in my estimation, in order for the receivers to come down the board, something has to go up. And if we don't think it's going to be the tight ends, if we don't think it's going to be the running backs, the only thing left is probably what the producing of the quarterbacks, and in particular some of these young guys, to really bring the whole floor up. So I think it's more of a, I don't know how to put this other than just to say it as it is. I think part of it is, too, at a certain point, the receiver position feels sexier. And whether you're shooting your shot for the right player, the right prospect, you're checking metrics of, is this going to have a chance to hit or not? You can tell yourself a story and feel safe in this range with receivers. Running backs don't have that. Tight ends probably don't carry that same thing outside of a few names. So that is ultimately what is there because of just the fact that we only have four positions to be taking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if there was any year for quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, to kind of reset the market, it's going to be this draft class.
For sure.
We've had multiple years of bad draft classes. You know, Kenny Pickett, everybody from 2021 outside of T-Law is now a fucking backup. You know, like on their way out of the league at some point. Last year you got AR, but like to your point, Thomas, he played 2 fucking games and then disappeared into the abyss. And CJ Stroud hit. Bryce Young was god awful, terrible.
Mm-hmm.
You got a hyped rookie class where the NFL just said, "Fuck, we're taking 6 of these dudes." We signed a dude for $100 million to be our fucking quarterback. We're still taking one in the top 10. Fuck y'all. We ain't trading back. If there was going to be any year to do it, it's this year. 1, the class. 2, the NFL just told you, fuck, we're tired of like missing on guys. We're going to shoot our shot on guys. Quarterbacks have been struggling the last 2 years. 1, to stay healthy. 2, with the zone defense, which we used fantasypoints.com to dive into some of the analytics about how much fucking zone defense is being run. And NFL offenses are struggling to figure out how to attack zone. At some point, though, like I have faith in these fucking offensive minds who are getting paid millions of dollars that they're going to come up with a way to run a crosser this way and then run a dude behind, and all of a sudden we're going to shred fucking zone coverage or whatever it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a time for that shift, Adam, to like the great reset on quarterback value, back to when we get back to what, like 2021, 2022 startups where it's like, Jesus Christ, do you even take a wide receiver in the first round? Fuck no, I got to hammer quarterback. And then in the second round, I got to get my second one, and then I'll figure out wide receiver. That's how you're going to do startups? It's going to be this class. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but everything is kind of setting up for that motion to take place. Like you can kind of follow the breadcrumbs and go, listen, if we were going to do it, it's going to be now. And then, Thomas, to your point, like you look at 2025 draft class and you go, oh my God, who the fuck are these guys? Who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah. To Fantasy God's point here, he's been vibing out talking about how Knicks is just a complete fade. Why? He's going in the second round of a rookie draft. So look at these skill position players that are going in the second round and ask yourself how many of them have really an outside chance of even hitting 12 to 13 points per game. Because you got to think about what a wide receiver has to hit in points per game to become more valuable than a quarterback hits 14 to 15. And 14 to 15 points per game, pretty, I won't say easy to hit, but more likely than a third and fourth round rookie wide receiver hitting 14 points per game. You more often than not get Jacoby Myers than you do get Puka Nacua. I think what has happened is we have had some late round hits like Jaden Reed. I think we saw the hit in Puka Nacua. We have seen a Kyron Williams now, kind of 3 years in a row, and we're locked on chasing that dragon. What you will not find is Spencer Rattler having that same opportunity to hit as a late quarterback, and any of the late quarterbacks outside of Knicks. What we have in our arsenal is what we know. And what we know is that a first-round quarterback, like we've been talking about through this program, regardless of who it is and remove landing spot, do not lose value if they see the field. We should be